All right. Good morning. Welcome to West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. Hello, everybody online. We are really happy that you're here with us this morning in this new year, the first Sunday of 2021, and we are ready to start off a new, great, and wonderful year. So, and of course, we have beautiful weather to start it off with as well. So I am so happy. I had a wonderful Thanksgiving, low-key Thanksgiving actually, and it was very, very nice. I watched, no, Thanksgiving. I keep saying New Year's. So I watched Anderson. What is it? Anderson Cooper and the other guy. I don't remember the other guy. Andy something. And they did a show, and it was so funny because every hour they were doing a shot. As the night went on, you could obviously tell that their show was not scripted. So it was pretty funny, and the other thing that I thought was really great about it is that when they were segueing to other people in different homes and stuff like that, and it was kind of messy. It was really kind of messy, and it didn't flow very smoothly. But you know what? Everybody was having a good time, and everybody was happy, and that's all that mattered. And so I had a good time just laughing at them. So I'm like, I know exactly how you guys feel. So welcome to the center, and we are here, and the Bradfords are going to be opening up our hearts and our minds for a beautiful opening song and getting us centered for Sue's beautiful message. So let's all just get comfortable in our seats and just know that we are right where we need to be. Happy New Year. Make a quiet place within my heart. I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place within my mind. I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know. I will make a quiet place within my mind. I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know. I will make a quiet place within my life.
I will make a quiet place.
Good morning. Spirit is right here, right now. Spirit is all there is. Spirit is in and of everything. Spirit is love and joy and beauty and abundance and perfect health and infinite wisdom and infinite intelligence. And I know that I am an individualization of this Spirit, and as I know that for myself, I know that for each of us in this room. And I just give thanks for that knowing. And I say a word of blessing on Sue for all her words today that mean so much to us that we take with us. And I bless the Bradfords for their wonderful music and their new song. I love the song. And I just want to say a blessing for those who are here and those who are not here. I know this is a difficult time, but I also know this is better. God has a plan, and we're all part of it. And so I just release these words into the law, knowing that it's all done. And together we say, and so it is. My reading today is from Emmett Fox, Golden Key. Faith.
So good.
Verily, I say unto you, if we have faith and doubt not, we shall only do this which is done to the fig tree. But also if we shall say unto this mountain, be thou removed, and be thou cast out into the sea, it shall be done. Matthew 21:21. And understanding faith is a life of prayer. It is a great mistake, however, to struggle to produce a lively faith within yourself. That can only end in failure. The thing to do is to act as though you had faith. What we voluntarily do will always be the expression of our true belief. Act out the part that you wish to demonstrate, and you shall be expressing true faith. Act as though I were, and I will be, says the Bible in effect. This is the right use of the will, scientifically understood. The statement of Jesus quoted in the above is perhaps the most tremendous spiritual pronouncement ever made. Probably no other teacher who has ever lived would ever have dared to say it. But Jesus knew the law of faith and provided it himself in many times. We shall remove the mountains when we are willing to believe that we can. And then only will mountains be moved. But the whole planet will be redeemed and reformed according to the pattern in the mount. Know the truth about your problems. Claim spiritual dominion. Avoid senseless strain and over-anxiety. Expect your prayer to be answered, and act as though you expected it. Let us just ponder that for a moment. And together we say, and so it is.
You will do amazing things with the choice each new day brings, and with every step you take, bless the progress that you make, the reason you live is there in every gift you give. Love your life, love your dreams, you will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing, you will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing, you will do amazing things. enjoy what this day brings. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. You don't have to work it out. Just stay in the here and now. Let your mind rest for a little while. Sometimes deepest answers come when you're out there having fun. So close your eyes and take a breath and smile. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing. You will do amazing. You will do amazing things.
Thank you so much, Kathy and Rod. That is absolutely gorgeous. It is one of my favorite Michael Gott songs. It's just and it's a great thing to start the new year with. Amazing things, that we can all do amazing things, and we will. So, Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome. Glad to see you here. Glad to see all of you at home, or not really see, but glad to know you're there, all of you at home, and those who will be watching even after this is posted. So, Happy New Year. One of the things I'm really excited about, I always love the New Year's season because it's the fresh, clean, crisp point of beginning again. And one of the things I love best about this philosophy is the concept of change. We always have choice, and we can change as a result. That gift, to me, that's one of the greatest gifts Ernest Holmes ever gave us, was to really focus heavily on the power of our choice and knowing that my choices today build my tomorrow. And if I'm not real thrilled with my today, I can look at the choices I've been making and make new ones, because there is nothing that's permanent in the universe. That's what Buddhism talks a lot about, the impermanence of everything. And it's the way they talk about it is sometimes a little hard to grasp, but from a science of mind perspective, it becomes very simple then for me to say, regardless of what choices I've made in the past, life is always changing, it is always moving. And because that's true, I can always choose again. So this is my time of year to say, let's choose again. Let's choose what we want to be this year, how we want to feel, how we want to think, how we want to act. And I think we're going to be really supported this year by the Centers for Spiritual Living because their theme this year just really jazzes me. It is, for 2021, it's timeless wisdom and evolutionary vision. And that for me is just exquisite. Timeless wisdom and evolutionary vision. In this month's Science of Mind magazine, there is, at the very one of the first pages, there's a little section from a practitioner in Jacksonville, Florida named Deetra Johnson. And she says, in this new year, reflect within. Look at life's lessons inside the perceived challenges. Today, acknowledge that the past and present are stepping stones to spiritual evolution. The past and the present are stepping stones. And for me, those of you who know me, I do it much less than I used to, but there is still a part of me that goes, bad Sue, bad Sue, bad Sue, about some kind of a choice that I make, It's like, So for me, that looking at it as a stepping stone to that spiritual evolution kind of is one of the many things that I can use to say, just lighten up a little bit. Just lighten up a little bit. She also talks about having a teacher who referred to our DNA, and it's our divine nature attributes, the gene of God, the genome of God. That's what we have in us, in our DNA. We are a reflection of the divine. We are that which God is. That all of that is in our DNA, that there is nothing that we can't do. There is nothing that's impossible, because all things are possible with God. So for me, the first Sunday is always preceded by the burning bowl ceremony with letting go of the year. And it was kind of easy for me this year. I just went 2020. That's all. Let it go. But also to know that there's a balance there. Yes, there was a lot that I didn't need to go through and catalog what needed to be let go. Just let her rip. But there are also learnings in everything. And Simon Sinek has a little thing online right now that is really very interesting. Simon Sinek, the why guy. Let me find his little thing. Here we go. An optimist view going into 2021. So he says, optimism is about the future. It is not blind positivity, nor is it naive. It is not seeing the glass as half full or ignoring the half of the glass that is empty. It is the ability to see the emptiness of the half glass while choosing to focus on the fullness of the other half of the glass. And I really loved that. It's like we don't, because when people talk about that, really, they usually just say, just look at the part that's full. Well, he's saying, no, acknowledge that empty piece. And I thought that was beautiful. And he says, it is the ability to see the good in the face of the bad. It is the practice of looking for the silver linings in any cloud. 2020 definitely gave us a lot of half-empty things to see. However, this new year will be defined by our ability to see the half-full moments. To see the half-full moments. And so he has a whole series of things that he talks about in this little article, but the one I like the best is, these are lessons for 2021. And he says, embrace ahead and behind. And he's talking about, social media and everybody just saying, oh, throw this whole thing away. There was no learnings. It was just, get rid of it and move on. But he says, I've been so inspired by Dr. James Carson's thinking about infinite game. It has taught me not to see things in terms of good or bad, but rather in terms of ahead and behind. To see ourselves, our work, our country, and the world as part of a bigger continuum. To think 2020 as bad and over ignores the fact that impact of things that began and grew in 2020 live on, and we'll be dealing with them in 2021. I find it healthier not to think that it's been a bad year, but rather it had more behind days. It had more behind days than we would have liked. And as I look forward into 2021, having many more ahead days, the infinite mindset helps us better prepare for what challenges lie ahead and to avoid the kind of surprises that throw us off balance. So that's, when I think about all of the studying that I've done over the years, one of my teachers would always say to me, Sue, there is as much God in you when your hair is on fire and you're just a crazy woman as there is right now when I'm doing this talk. That there isn't this part of me has no God. It's all there. And basically what he kept saying is, try not to judge as good or bad, right or wrong, but really the question is, am I happy with the outcome of this thought or action? And do I like the outcome? If the outcome is no, that's the question to ask. Do I like the outcome? If not, choose again. And so that's kind of for me like the ahead and behind, that process of being able to say, it is more about looking at what do I want and whether or not what I've done thus far serves me. So there's, Reverend Karen talked about Palmer Parker a few weeks ago, and one of the questions that I have loved in his work is not to ask yourself what's good or bad, right or wrong, should or shouldn't, but to ask yourself, have I been faithful to my values this year? Have I been faithful to my values? And none of us are all the time. It's impossible. Brene Brown talks about aspirational values and lived values. Aspirational values are those values that we hold in our heart as what we aspire to be, what we aspire to do, how we aspire to think. Lived values is how well we apply that. And she refers to the distance between lived values and aspirational values as the gap, the value gap. And so it's just about minding that gap. Ask yourself the question, have I been faithful to my values this year? And then he also says, is the life I'm living the same as the life that wants to live in me? And that's another quote that has, since I read it the first time, has just touched me. It has been with me pretty much continuously as I've thought, because by the time I get up here to do this, I have done a lot of my end of the year work already. And so that question has really just been with me. What life wants to live in me? What life wants to live in me? And that for me is what timeless wisdom is, right? That's our connection to the divine. That's how timeless wisdom shows up in our life. What life wants to live in me? And he also says, let the highest truth and values guide everything you do. Before you tell your life what you intend to do with it, he writes, listen for what it intends to do with you. Before you tell your life what truths and values you have decided to live up to, let your life tell you what truths you embody and what values you represent. It's that balance. It's that balance of saying, yes, I have choice. Yes, I have dominion over my thoughts, over my words, over my deeds, but to slow down and to stop. What life wants to be lived in me today, in this moment, in this hour, in this week, in this year, whatever it may be. And it has served me very, very well when I get my panties in a twist, which I would love to tell you that I never do, but that would be a lie. Ask my husband, he will tell you. So that process of being able to say, what do I want? What do I want? And how does that line up with what wants to live in me? So every year I always recommend to everybody that they do an inventory, a values inventory. And that's a part for me of being able to get really clear. And some years they're very much the same, and other years they're not. And this was a year where I went, wow, didn't see that one coming. The top one is always the top one, and the values are always there, but they change sort of in order of priority. And so for me, I always choose a word or a theme or an idea, and for me, what kept coming up is embodiment, a steadfast living, that process of actually incorporating into who I am, into the very fiber of my being. That's what this year is for me. That's the strong, the slow, the steady embodiment. So Richard Rohr, who is a fabulous Franciscan friar. The Franciscans call themselves friar. I always think of Friar Tuck, but anyway, sorry, Richard. But he's a fabulous author. He has in one of his latest books, he talks about order, disorder, and reorder. And Karen talked about that a few weeks ago too. But basically the message is chaos and disorder is always here. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a part of life. Swedenborg's quote about, things come together, and that when things are together, they come apart, and it's a sort of chaos that allows Swedenborg refers to it as the Lord, for the Lord to bring the pieces back together in a better order. And so for me, as I've looked at this past year, I did say, what are my biggest learnings? And probably the biggest single one has had to do with self-compassion. How well was I able to be kind to myself when I went off the rails? Because everybody goes off the rails anyway in life, but I think for some of us, this year had its own unique set of experiences off the rails. And to be able to catch it sooner, to be able to judge it less, to be able to judge me less, to be able to actually bless that chaos and to look at it as the breaking apart so that things can come together in a better order. So there's a beautiful song called The Seasons of Love from the Broadway musical and then later a movie. And Seasons of Love is a song that many of us know, even though we don't necessarily know its name. But the song in the beginning says 525,600 minutes, 525,000 moments so dear, 525,600 minutes, how do you measure a year? And it goes on to say, in daylights, it makes me cry when I hear it, when I say it. In daylights and sunsets, in midnights and cups of coffee, in inches and miles and laughter and strife. In 525,600 minutes, how do you measure a life? How about love? And it says, how do you measure the life of a woman or a man? The truth she learns, the time she cried, the bridges he burned, or the way they died. And it goes on to talk about, it's about love. It's about love. And for me, that's really ultimately what it will always boil down to. It always does, no matter what. When I can approach the world from a place of love, from an idea of love, from a vision of love, from a willingness to see people as being at their core the same as what we are and who we are. That we all basically want the same thing. I really believe that. We want to feel free, we want to be happy, we want to have the opportunity to love and be loved. It's just we all have very different ideas about how to get there. And it's our rigidity about those ideas of how we get there that gets us all in trouble. Pema Chodron talks about the hardening of our heart, the fundamentalism that we lock and load on. And that, more than anything, stands in the way of peace. It stands in the way of love. It stands in the way of joy. That ability to stop and say, am I willing to look for anything that's similar, anything in common? And for me, sometimes, because there are certainly behaviors that I don't like, and those of you who know me know that I sort of live on the far left end of the political scale. And in this past few years, there's been opportunities for me to say, stop. Cranking yourself up doesn't hurt anybody but you. But more importantly, everybody really does want the same thing. We just have different ways that we think we need to get there. And if I can stand in that space, whether it's politics or religion or relationships or work or whatever it may be, we all really want those same fundamental things. We just believe there's a stronger, a different way to get there. So as I go forward then, this is also a time of year where I'm always drawn to Father Greg Boyle. He is the person who started Homeboy Industries, which is the world's largest reentry program for people coming out of prison and for people who want to get out of a gang life. And he has some exquisite things of talking about that, of talking about how there is inherently in all of us a good, and that when we seek that, life works a lot better. And he has a very great sense of humor. So one of the things he says, God can get tiny if we aren't careful, right? God can get tiny if we aren't careful. And he has a book called Barking to the Choir. And it's called Barking to the Choir because apparently the homeboys get the little sayings mixed up. And he, rather than barking up the wrong tree and preaching to the choir, Barking to the Choir is what somebody said. He goes, that's a good title for a book, Barking to the Choir. But anyway, so I digress. He says, human beings are settlers, but not in the pioneer sense. It is our human occupational hazard to settle for the fear-driven when love longs to drive us as our engine. We settle for a puny, vindictive God when we are being nudged always closer to this wildly inclusive, larger than any life we can imagine. And he says, it's about not settling for a lesser God and to not be and to be willing to let go of the notion of less. Because a part of timeless wisdom for me and a part of evolutionary vision is the ability to say, there is something greater than I can imagine. That I have in me that DNA of the divine. And so if I'm willing to try to let go of my small mind and just stay open to a bigger picture that I may not know, I may not understand, it doesn't matter. It's there, it's bigger. And if I simply allow myself to go with the flow, life is easier. Richard Rohr has a book called Everything Belongs, which I think is a beautiful title, Everything Belongs. And he talks a lot about being in the flow with that whole concept. But Greg Boyle then says, how much greater is the God we have than the one we think we have? We settle sometimes for less than intimacy with God, when all God longs for is this solidarity with us. The desire of God's heart is immeasurably larger than our imaginations can conjure. The longing of God to give us peace and assurance and a sense of well-being awaits our willingness to cooperate with God's limitless magnanimity. Magnanimity? There we go. Say that one 3 times fast. And then the last thing that he says, and I have used this a lot, he talks about Buddhism, and in the writings of the Buddha, the Buddha would frequently say, "Oh, nobly born." And Greg Boyle says, "Oh, nobly born." Remember who you really are. You are innately, thoroughly, and unshakably good. Remember who you really are. You are innately, unshakably, and thoroughly good. I think that's just beautiful. And when I can stand on things like that, when I can remember things like that, it's easier for me to unwind and to back up from those times when my hair's on fire and I'm judging myself and everybody within a 100-mile radius, sometimes longer than 100 miles. So, to me, those kinds of things are the timeless wisdom that we always have access to. And the only thing that stops us is us. It's our having a puny God as opposed to this magnanimous God. And if we look at evolutionary vision, then I always have to go to the dictionary because I love the dictionary. Evolution, and it has, things about species and change in direction, but the ones that I like are the process of working out or developing, a process in which the whole universe is a progression of interrelated phenomena. Interrelated phenomena. And so evolutionary vision for me then becomes a part of seeing that interrelation in everything. Then if you look at the New Thought Dictionary, Ernest Holmes says, evolution is proof of an irresistible urge which pushes everything onward and upward. No doubt our eternal evolution is an everlasting process through which we become more aware of life. And the last one is evolution is the time and process through which spirit unfolds. So evolutionary vision is keeping that vision of that ever unfolding access and wisdom of the divine. And when we do that, life works so much better. It really does. When I get caught up in should, shouldn't, can, can't, right, wrong, all of the judgment aspects of life, first thing I know is when I'm judging someone else harshly, it is virtually impossible, and for me, I believe this from everyone, it is virtually impossible to lash out in anger or any negative response unless that pain is overflowing in me. And sometimes it's buried pretty deeply. Sometimes we don't see it. Sometimes we don't know that that's what it is. But over the years, I've found that when I am rapidly judging the world outside, and I don't see how profoundly I'm judging myself, it's one of those red flags that comes up that says, stop, step back, take a breath, and how can I say this differently? That prayer, Lord, help me to see this differently. That, for me, is also a huge part of spiritual evolution. So, every year I do something. We either have a word stone or a white stone or something else. Well, this year is a something else year. And those of you who are in-house have on your chair a spiral shell that's been cut. And for those of you who don't have one, I've had some out here at the center, and they'll still be out. And if you don't have one, Clyde has more. But it's a spiral shell that has been carved out to look like an upward and open spiral. And when I was thinking about what to do, what year? Actually, I had to stop and go, what did I do last year? Is it time to have something different? And I went, well, it's time to have something different because it is. And I looked and I looked and I looked because I knew timeless wisdom and spiritual evolution was a part of the topic for this year. I really wanted something that was spiral in shape. And there's spirals everywhere in nature. The Fibonacci sequence is mathematic, and I will not try to explain it because I would have to read it to you, and that would be very boring. But I will tell you that spirals are ever present in nature. And it lists things like flower petals and the way that they open, seed pods, pine cones, tree branches, shells, spiral galaxies, hurricanes, even people's faces, the bones in our fingers, animals' body, and our DNA molecules. That it is really this constant presence of spirals in nature. And there's something called spiral dynamics, which also I won't try to explain other than because it's much more complicated. I tend to try to drill things down to something my mind can grasp when I'm having a snit. That's kind of how it's like, if you can drill it down to something that you can grab, then it works. But in spiral dynamics, it looks at the development of the evolutionary development of individuals, organizations, and societies. It looks at development from an individualistic perspective. I survive, I control, I perform, I learn. And from a collective perspective, we belong, we conform, we relate, and we experience. And that too is constantly telling us that it's more than just us in the world. That yes, we are individualizations of God, but we are connected. We are connected to each other, whether we know it or not. There are upward spirals and there were downward spirals. Brene Brown talks about shame spirals, and I've certainly had a few of those in my day. And that's a downward spiral that we need to learn to break. But the upward spiral is about letting it be. So Stephen Covey is the Seven Habits guy. And he talks about an upward spiral, and the dictionary says it's a model that results from growth, change, and constant improvement. And his perspective is the upward spiral has three parts: learn, commit, and do. Learn, commit, and do. That's simple enough for me to get even when my brain is a little crazy. He says, moving along the upward spiral requires us to learn, commit, and do on increasingly higher planes. We deceive ourselves if we think that any one of these is sufficient. To keep progressing, we must learn, commit, and do, learn, commit, and do, and learn, commit, and do again. Pema Chodron has a book called Fail, fail again, fail better. You know, it's that, and that's how we learn oftentimes, is we've kind of blown things up. So for me, this was a good symbol for me to have about the openness of the universe and my access to everything in it. And so for me, there's this tight little bundle down here, and it expands out. And if I think about that tight little bundle at the bottom of this shell, that's like, for me, the physical embodiment of who we are. It's here in this moment. And then everything else moves out from that. So I always have, for me, I have to have things that I can have at quick view. So the wall in front of my desk is always pretty funny because there's a lot of things that try to remind me to take a breath and get over myself, and many other things. But this is the one that is hanging there right now. But there is also a quote that I've had for quite a while. It's from Blaise Pascal, a 17th century mathematician, inventor, writer, philosopher. And he says, "Somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known." Somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known. And to me, evolutionary vision is us being able to be a part of that, to see that there's something incredible waiting to be known, and it's simply ours to see. And there's someone who works for Disney, Disney Animation Studios. His name is Edward Catmull from Pixar Films. There's a sweet spot between the known and the unknown where originality happens. The key is to be able to linger there without panicking, right? Because we love certainty so much. So it takes for us to be able to be comfortable in somewhere there's something waiting, incredible waiting to be known. We have to be able to stand still and wait for that to show up, to be available. And one thing that that long ago and far away, when I started Science of Mind, there was people, when they taught treatment, they really were very rigid. They were very, very rigid. And prayers always started with the same words, and they ended with the same words, or you didn't pass. They were very rigid. But anyway, it always ended with something that referenced we released this with a sense of excitement, enthusiasm, and expectancy of good. So Ralph Waldo Emerson, who influenced Ernest Holmes a great deal, said, "Nothing great is ever achieved without enthusiasm." And the word enthusiasm in Greek, entheos, means filled with God. Filled with God, with enthusiasm. To wait for that something somewhere that's waiting to be known. And if we stop and we look at the timeless wisdom that's always available to us, and we stop and look at that concept that there is an evolutionary vision that change is always happening, and it's always happening for the better. Sometimes it's very hard to see that it is, but higher thoughts always lift lower thoughts, always, always. What's the expression? The river rises all boats, the water raises all boats. It doesn't make any difference, good guy, bad guy, right, wrong. When the water comes, all boats lift up. And so it's about saying, how do I want to engage with that timeless wisdom this year? How do I want to engage with that ever-expanding vision that is always available to us? So for those of you who have Shell, what you got today, if you're here, it has a little cord to go with it. And for those of you who are online, there are shells that are available either here in the lobby, or there's a little plastic box outside the front door that has some in them. And we'll make sure for the next week or so that there's always some in there. But it includes a little satin cord. So if you just stop and look, and if you don't have one with you, just imagine a spiral that is expanding. And it starts from a tight center and moves its way out. But in the case of these shells, no two are alike. They're different sizes, the colors are different. Some of them have imperfections. But it's finding the fact that there is at the center of this carved shell, there is a core that is present no matter what level you're on. And when Karen and I we kind of go through some of this together, I said, and they also look a little bit like a slide, right? It looks like if you forget, you could go shooting way down there a ways. And I laughed about that, and I thought, you know what, that's okay. That's okay, because life is forward and backward, up and down. It is ahead and behind. And the key is to see if there's a learning from the slide, and then to choose again. So I'm going to ask everybody to just take a few moments and to stop, to breathe, to be willing, if you will, to close your eyes. And we'll think about this upcoming year. What do you want in 2021? How do you want to be? What qualities of God do you want to have demonstrated in your life? If you look at the spiral, what qualities do you want to accept from that timeless wisdom? What do you want to evolve in your soul? We are here as evolving souls. That's our purpose to be here, the evolution of our soul. How do we want to contribute to the evolution of our soul this year? What am I willing to do? What am I willing to commit to? If it's learn, commit, do. The learning for me is accepting the timeless wisdom that's ours. Accepting that we're on this evolutionary path to greater and greater levels of good. But really let yourself imagine what your life would be like if you just let go and let the life that wants to live in you be the life that you live. What would that look like? What would it sound like? What would it feel like? How would the circumstances of your life be? What would your relationship with your body be? What would your relationship with your life, your lifestyle be? What would your relationships be? How would you think about the world from this place of evolutionary vision? Of your choice to incorporate the pieces of that timeless wisdom into your daily life, into your intentions for the year. What would that be like? How would my life change? Am I willing to commit to it so that I can act on it? And for me, commitment is like the fulcrum. It's the point at which we are thrown into action. Because when you commit, action flows naturally. So what will you commit to? What piece of learning from timeless wisdom that has already been that place, that's something that's unknown that's waiting to appear? What is yours this year? What is yours? And if it's a function of learning, be open to the timeless wisdom providing that learning for you. It's not something you even have to seek out. I'm a class junkie, so I will always go to one, but you don't really have to. It's just allowing yourself to be open to the learning from the timeless wisdom. What are you willing to commit to? And once you've made a commitment, if you stay open, then the do will flow. the do comes from the timeless wisdom as well. It comes from the evolutionary vision. It becomes a natural part of the rhythm and flow. Richard Rohr talks about, don't push the river. Flow with the river. And so there's a little string. I used 2, and there are more out in the lobby. If you've got a color that you don't like, there are other colors in the lobby. And for those of you who will come by and pick one up, each bag has a different color, so you can look at that. But what I'm going to ask you to do is run that through the top of, take your cord, run it through the top of your shell, and then tie a knot at the top. And when you tie that knot, see that as your commitment. You're tying the knot. You know, in a wedding, we refer to you're tying the knot. That's a commitment. Tie that knot, and as you do, make a commitment to yourself to stay open to the timeless wisdom, to stay open to the evolutionary vision for your life. It doesn't have to be huge, it just has to be yours. And so as you do that, allow yourself to just look at the uniqueness of each shell and to see that your uniqueness, just like it, is divine perfection. It is God's DNA in you. And then find some place that you can set this so that you can see it, because I find it's really helpful to have triggers. Those little things that prompt you. You may be unconscious and not see it a lot of the time, but when you need it, you will. I have a habit of moving things around because you go blind to something that's been there for a while. So take it off that place and put it on somewhere else. But allow yourself to have prompts to remember that you are absolutely a divine reflection, that timeless wisdom lives in you. And when you know that, those great things come quickly and easily and effortlessly. And so regardless of what happens this year in terms of the ahead and the behind, for there will always be ahead and behind, to have the ability to say, I'm willing to stay open. I'm willing to look for the things that we have in common. I'm willing to try and see those who challenge me at some level in a way that allows my heart to soften. I don't have to appreciate or approve everybody's behavior, but to remember that it's just a part of how they think what has to happen to get to the happiness, the peace, the freedom, the joy, the love. And breathe. And when we do that, it makes room for joy, for happiness, for laughter, for love, and it allows us to really see things from that perspective. So thank you, everybody. So what I want to do now is just anchor that in prayer. So if you will, with me, take a deep breath and allow everything that's been said today to just kind of bubble up in you. To know that it's there, it's planted, it is now home in your consciousness. It has a place that it is taking root. Imagine that you nurture that this year, that you bless it, that you're kind to you and others around you, that you find compassion in your heart for yourself if there's a place that you have not demonstrated your values. To be gentle with yourself when you catch it, whether you catch it quickly or whether it takes a long time. But to be gentle with yourself and be grateful when you do have that moment that allows you to stop and see things differently, to make a new choice, to allow a new future to unfold. Allow yourself to breathe and be open, to imagine that timeless wisdom is always coming to you and operating through you and as you. That at any moment, in every moment, timeless wisdom lives in each of us. And that timeless wisdom is always pushing us to a greater understanding of life, to a greater connection to the divine, to a greater wisdom. Choose that. Choose that. Choose to see that, even if at times you don't believe that. Choose to hold it until you believe it during those times when there's questioning. Allow yourself to stay open to the rhythm and the wisdom of the divine, to allow yourself to listen and hear and act. Allow yourself to know that in this moment, in this very moment, each of us, within the sound of my voice, whether it be here in this room, online, or watching it at some later date, that there is an openness, a willingness, an understanding that allows that good to be made manifest in each of our lives. So as we go forward into this new year, we have the opportunity to decide, what qualities of God do I want to demonstrate more fully in my life this year? How do I want to be? How do I want to feel? How do I want to think? What do I want to do? But do always comes last. It always comes last. And it comes out of the wisdom of the divine. It comes out of the evolutionary vision that allows you to see what to do. So as you go forward, do so with that enthusiasm that is being filled with God, by definition, literally. See that when we stand in a position of excitement, enthusiasm, and expectancy of good, the universe always, always says yes. So I'm grateful for having this opportunity to have the symbolism of the new year that allows us to start anew, to make a new set of choices, to make a new set of commitments that will bring forth a new set of actions. And in doing so, we change the world. We change the world. Each and every one of us who makes that commitment changes the world, because we change one person at a time. The world changes one person at a time. And knowing that that is so, my heart is filled to overflowing with gratitude. Filled to overflowing. And it makes it very easy to release it out into the beautiful synchronicity that is both love and law, that will always bring about the answer of yes. And so it is. Thank you, everybody.
I close my eyes and I can see a world that's waiting for me, that I call my own. Through the dark, through the door, through where no one's been before, but it feels like home. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say I've lost my mind. I don't care, so call me crazy. We can live in a world that we design, 'cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. There's a house we can build. Every room inside is filled with things from far away. Special things I compile, each one there to make you smile on a rainy day. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say I've lost my mind. I don't care, so call me crazy. We can live in a world that we design, 'cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. For the world we're gonna make.
Thank you again, Bradford. I've been waiting to hear that song. That song is from
The Greatest Showman.
The Greatest Showman. Yes, I forgot the name of the song, and I love that song. When that song came out, I played that song every day for about a month. I love it so much, so thank you so much. All right, and I forgot to let everybody know that if you didn't notice, Reverend Karen is not here today. So thank you so very much. So Reverend Karen is out for the next couple of weeks on vacation, duly needed. She's been carrying the load for this community for the last year, and it's been a little heavy load. And so she is taking some time off with her honey, and they're enjoying the beach and some relaxation. And so we are just holding them and surrounding them with love. So now is the time for our giving and knowing the abundance of our community as well as the abundance of our own lives. So if you will say the giving affirmation with me. I live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is.
About my problems, I'm living now. one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. One more time. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive.
So y'all, there's an affirmation that comes with some information from the Science of Mind from Centers for Spiritual Living. And the affirmation this week is, steeped in the wisdom of the ages, I resolve to evolve. I resolve to evolve. So for each of us, know that you are steeped in the wisdom of the ages, and out of that commitment, out of that resolve to evolve, life is always a remarkable journey.